Hi, hello you guys, and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I wanted to sit down and do another like podcasty type chat type of video. I did this about a month ago and you guys absolutely loved it. I love filming these videos. These are my favorite videos to watch and to listen to. I just love being able to like pop it on in the background as I'm like going on a walk or doing things around the house, and I don't have to be like actively watching the video if I don't want to, and I just get to like have it on in the background. So I absolutely loved filming it and I love watching these videos. But today I figured I would sit down and kind of chat about all things kind of two kids as of right now, kind of how the adjustment has been, different things that I see on social media about having two children and my thoughts on having two, and just kind of like a general like kind of just chatty video. So without further ado, let's dive into it. One of the biggest things that I have been asked so far is, has the adjustment from 1 to 2 been easier than 0 to 1 was? And honestly, I just think that they are so different for so many different reasons. I think 0 to 1 is so challenging because you have never been a parent before. You have nothing to compare it to. Everything is so new, so foreign. You're trying to figure out what every cry means. You're trying to figure out how to breastfeed if you're a breastfeeding mom, or what version of feeding your baby is going to work best for you. Most people have never changed a newborn before, so like changing a newborn diaper. For us with AJ, he had to go through like the circumcision process, so we had never had to deal with like a circumcision recovery before, so like all aspects of that was so brand new to us. Obviously at that point you're not used to not sleeping through the night when you're getting up 3-4 times in the beginning in the middle of the night with your newborn. Like you are just so not used to it in the beginning that everything is brand new to you, and you are trying to figure out this brand new baby that you literally just birthed, just met, but simultaneously like you're trying to recover, you're trying to navigate like all of the emotions, all of the hormones, being a first-time mom, how your body feels, the recovery of that process as well. And so it's just so brand new. So I think as beautiful as the first time around is, that 0 to 1 transition, because you are experiencing everything for the first time. You get to see your baby do all of their milestones for the first time. You get to see them smile at you for the first time. You get to experience what it feels like to like love something that much for the first time. So I think that part of it is absolutely beautiful because it's obviously the first time that you've ever experienced that. At the same time, it's also incredibly challenging because it's the first time you've ever done it. It's the first time you've ever had all of these questions. I know for myself as a first-time mom, I questioned myself nonstop. I questioned myself on every single little thing that was going on with AJ. I was questioning whether I was doing this right, whether he was supposed to be doing this. I was Googling things at all hours of the day and night, like what is an appropriate time for them to be able to do this? What age should they be able to do that? Like I was just questioning everything about myself as a mom, about him as a baby. You just have nothing to compare it to. Where this time around, transitioning from 1 to 2, there are a lot of other factors. This time around, I think the newborn phase has been so much quote unquote easier for us. Now keep in mind, I'm saying that, and Emma has been a very, very easy and content baby, where like she eats well, she sleeps well, she doesn't really cry unless there's a reason for her to be crying. Like she's a pretty unproblematic baby. She like eats, sleeps, poops, plays a little, repeats. We do that again. That's pretty much the course of the day. We're also super fortunate that she only wakes up 2 or 3 times every single night. Like she wakes up, she goes her 2 to 3 hours before she eats in between, and then she'll go back to sleep. Like she's been a very unproblematic baby for the most part. So take that all with a grain of salt, that the newborn phase this time around, I feel like has been so much easier for us, because I also just think you know what you're doing this time around in the newborn phase. Granted, once again, she is an easy baby, but not everything is a big question mark this time around. Not everything is like, am I doing this right? Am I doing that right? Why is she crying? Why is she this? Why is she that? Like everything is not as stressful this time around because you've experienced the newborn phase. You've experienced waking up multiple times in the middle of the night. So that sleep exhaustion that you feel just doesn't hit as hard. Also for us, AJ has never been the type of baby, the type of kid that really sleeps very long, very consistently through the course of the night. We might get a couple nights here, a couple nights there, but for the most part, he's kind of all over the place in terms of sometimes he'll sleep through the night and sometimes he won't. So it wasn't a super foreign concept to get up in the middle of the night with the baby because we were still kind of doing that with our toddler when our newborn arrived. So I think the newborn phase this time around has kind of felt a little bit of a redemption for me personally. Granted, AJ was a super good baby as well. well. He was just a little bit more clingy. He could never really be put down as much. I also struggled a little bit more in the beginning with his breastfeeding journey in terms of his gaining weight process. He was a very little baby. Now looking back, we know he was just a little baby. There was nothing wrong with him. He didn't fail to thrive like our initial doctor said that he would. But I questioned everything. I questioned everything about whether I should even be breastfeeding. It was something I really wanted to do. And I really was hesitant about whether I should continue because she made me feel like I should not continue because he wasn't gaining enough weight. So I feel like this time around with her, like the newborn experience has felt very much kind of like, wow, we can do this. We know how to do this. If she's crying, there's only probably a couple of reasons she's crying. And I also think you just remind yourself the second time around that like sometimes newborns just cry to cry. Like sometimes they don't know how to express any other emotions. Sometimes it's gas. Sometimes they're just crying because they're crying. Like there's literally no rhyme or reason of why they're crying. They just are. And I think that has been a good reminder this time around that it's made the newborn phase feel easier. We've had a really good experience with breastfeeding. She's gaining weight really well. So I feel like that adjustment from 1 to 2 has been significantly easier, where 0 to 1, you have nothing to compare it to. You have no knowledge of what it's like to even have one baby at that point. And so everything is brand new. Everything's a new experience. You're questioning everything. This time around, at least with her, we're not questioning nearly as much because we have done that newborn experience already. Where I think this 1 to 2 has been more challenging, honestly, has been the adjustment with having a toddler, because while we have done this experience before, we've done the newborn experience, we've done not sleeping through the night, we've done the breastfeeding thing already. We have everything we're experiencing with AJ, we're still experiencing that for the first time as parents. We're still experiencing having an almost 2-year-old for the first time. We're still experiencing the adjustment of him getting a new sibling for the first time. Everything we experience with him is still the first time we're experiencing it because he's our first. That's going to be forever. Everything he does is going to be the first time we've ever experienced that, because that's just the reality of being a first child. So in terms of the difficult part of 1 to 2 has really been with him. It's been that navigating of, okay, he was so used to being the center of attention, having all of our undivided love and affection, and now he has to share that. So now we have to deal with meltdowns and temper tantrums and him being frustrated when we never really experienced that before. So that has been challenging for us this time around, where with her, everything we've experienced is not new. We've done this before. We've done the newborn thing before. Everything with him in terms of how he's adjusting to having a sibling in the house, we've never done that before. We don't know the best way to go about helping him adjust. We don't know the best ways to help him kind of come back from a temper tantrum. Yeah, we are trying our best. We see things, we learn things, we're learning as we go. We're seeing how he responds best to things. But everything we're experiencing with him, we're doing for the first time. We're in the process now of also weaning his binky away, not necessarily like immediately, because we didn't want to make any immediate adjustments when she came around. But we're in the process of that as well, and that's the first time we're doing it. So that is going to be a huge adjustment, because that's the first time we've ever done that before. We've never had to wean a binky from a baby before, and so we're in the process of doing that. So that is going to be a more challenging adjustment. Overall, I would say that 1 to 2 has been easier than 0 to 1, because you've just done the parenting thing before. You have been so selfless before that it's not a shock to have to do it again. You know, I think that's one of the hardest parts the first time around having a baby. You don't really realize before you have a baby that you will not have a lot of time in the day, especially in the beginning, for yourself. You kind of like things like showering, going to the bathroom, like they kind of feel like luxury sometime in the beginning, because you don't have all of that time to just take time for yourself. So I think this time around it has been easier because you've done the parenting thing already. You know kind of how you are as a parent. You've definitely learned patience through having a first child, at least more than you did when you had no children. Like, it's just very different. And so I think it has been collectively easier this time around, because we know AJ a lot more, and he's been the more quote unquote challenging one through the 1 to 2 adjustment. But we know AJ, we know the things he likes, we know the things he doesn't like, we know how to help him get through difficult moments and times and how to distract him. We know him because he's almost 2 years old. He's been around for 2 years, where when you're adjusting 0 to 1, you don't know that baby. Like, yeah, you know it's your baby, but like, you don't know the things they like, you don't know the things they don't like. Everything is brand new, and you're brand new at it. So we're just now more experienced parents this time around. And also, luckily for us, our newborn has been very easy and unproblematic for the most part. And our quote unquote challenging adjustment has been with our toddler, who is luckily really not a bad toddler and also is just learning to adjust to all of the new things like we are. But we know him and we know how to help him get through it. So I would say collectively 1 to 2 has been quote unquote easier than 0 to 1, but I would just say that they're very different. Like there's challenges in both of them. First time around, you have nothing to compare it to, so everything feels new and scary and overwhelming. Second time around, you have confidence in yourself as a parent, but everything you're experiencing with your first child is still the first time you're experiencing it as a parent, so that can still feel overwhelming. Even though the newborn phase feels a little bit easier, everything you're experiencing with your toddler is still the first time you're experiencing it. Something I've been seeing all over social media is I wish that I could be a second time mom for my first baby. Basically what I just said, like having all of the confidence and not all the fears and not all of the anxieties of being a first time mom for your first baby, but now being a second time mom. I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't know if I explained that well at all, but basically having all of like the confidence and experience that you have as a second time mom, but having that for your first baby, so you get to experience that with your first baby. And I just kind of wanted to give my 2 cents on that, because I find that kind of like trend very interesting, because you see people posting it with their first baby or with their newborn, and just like them saying they wish that they could have that experience with their first baby. And I actually very much disagree with that, because I love the version of myself as a mom that I am now, but the reason that I am that mom now is because of my first baby. I am this version of a mom. I am the way that I am as a mom. I have the confidence that I have as a mom for the most part because of AJ, because of the experiences I've had with AJ. I think there is something so beautiful about the fact that, like I just said, everything that we've experienced together for the first time. So we were going through that newborn phase together. We were figuring each other out together. We were doing everything together for the first time. And I understand the concept. Like I understand what everyone's saying, and that it would be amazing to have this feeling, like this redemptive newborn experience, but have that feeling with your first baby, because obviously the first time around it's just so much more stressful. There's so much more anxiety the first time around about everything. So having this experience but with your first child, and while I see that perspective and I do think that for like a quick moment it would be nice to feel that way, I also think that how could I have gotten to this point if it wasn't for my first baby? You know, like I got to this point where now this newborn experience doesn't feel scary. It doesn't feel overwhelming. It doesn't feel stressful because of AJ, because of all of the experiences I've had with him. And I don't know, I think there's something like so special that everything that we experience in life together, me and him, are going to be the first time that we're experiencing it. Every time he does something for the first time, it's going to be the first time that I've also experienced it. And I think that that's a special place for a first child to have. Like I think it's really cool as a first child that you know that your parents were like figuring it out alongside you. And I don't know, I think there's something really special about that, where like for her, she gets much more like confident parents who know what they're doing, and she is so special for an entirely different reason. And now she has also an older brother that gets to like look after her and make sure and like kind of help her work through some of the things he's learned from. And I don't know, like I think it's very different and special for a different reason. But I thought that trend was very interesting, because it's like, while I understand that it would be amazing to have the confidence I have now with AJ, because there was a lot of moments with him that I would just like cry over how little he was and how he wasn't gaining weight and how I was a failure as a mom, and I felt so many negative things towards myself as a mom. And it does make me a little sad that he got that version of me when that's not necessarily me, how I feel anymore as a mom. But at the same time, the reason that I am this version of a mom now is because of those experiences I had with him and learning through that with him. So I also think there's just something really special about that. So like I like the trend, I think it's interesting, but I personally don't relate to it, because I think it's really nice that like I am who I am because of my experience that I have had with AJ, if that makes any sense at all. Another question that I've gotten that I wanted to talk about was, how has my body image been this time around versus last time in my recovery process? Honestly, I think it is better. Like I have thought nicer about myself this time around, but I also think that has to do with a couple different things. One, AJ was born in May. So right away in May, you are wearing tank tops, you are wearing shorts, it's warm, so you are wearing warm clothing. So you are wearing more exposing clothing quicker in May. So for me, a first-time mom who has never experienced a postpartum body before was wearing more exposing quote-unquote clothing quicker. Well, this time around, I had her in early March, so it can off and on still be chilly. I'm still wearing sweatshirts and sweatpants and leggings, like you're wearing a lot more clothing because it's chillier out. So you're not showing as much of your body this time of year as you are in May or in June or in the summer. Like I went right into the summer months with AJ as a first-time mom postpartum for the first time, where we were wearing bathing suits. My family went on vacation a month after me having AJ, so I was in bathing suits pretty immediately. So I just saw more of my postpartum body earlier with AJ because of the time of year it was. Where with her, you're just a little bit more covered this time of year, so you don't have to like see as much of your body this time around. So I do believe that makes a difference because I had to see myself a lot more and my body a lot more last time around than this time because of the time of year that it was. I also think it makes a huge difference that I have been through the postpartum process already before. I think first time around, it's really, really scary that you're like, I don't know if my body is ever going to look the way that it looked before I got pregnant. I don't know if I'm ever going to feel confident in my body again. And this time around, I have so much confidence in the fact that my body will never look the way that it looked before I had babies, because I'm never going to be that version of myself again. I am never going to be 22 years old again, where I had never had babies. My body never stretched and grew 2 children and pushed 2 children out of my body. I am never going to be that version of myself again. I have learned so much about what my body is capable of, and I think now a lot of the confidence I feel comes from that. Like I feel so proud of my body and what it's capable of, and I also know that while I will not ever look the way I looked pre-pregnancies, so even before I had AJ, that I will eventually feel confident in my body again. There was a time before I got pregnant with Emma, postpartum with AJ, that I was very confident in how I looked, that I was very proud of the progress that I had made in terms of exercise, in terms of lifting, in terms of how my body looked. I was actually stronger in that like year postpartum period between when I was postpartum with AJ and when I got pregnant with Emma, that year in between. When I was stronger actually than I was before I got pregnant with AJ. I was able to lift heavier, and I had so much confidence in what I was able to do, what my body was able to do, but also what I looked like before I got pregnant with Emma again. So while I know that I'll never look the way I looked pre-pregnancies, I do know that I will feel confident in my body again, and that it just takes time. That's not to say that I don't have bad body image days at all. I didn't have stretch marks last time with AJ. I just never got them. This time around, I do have stretch marks on my lower stomach and on my hips. There is literally nothing wrong with stretch marks at all, but I'm not used to seeing them on my body. So that is definitely something that had I have had her in the warm summer months like I had AJ, maybe I would feel entirely different. Maybe I would feel more confident because I'd be in bathing suits, because I would be in more exposing clothing where I would be seeing them a little bit more. Maybe I would feel a little bit more self-conscious. I don't know, but I am getting used to seeing them on my body, and some days I do feel really good. I'm able to like put on leggings and shirts that fit me pre-pregnancy, and I'm like, wow, I feel good. I feel like my body is recovering. And then some days I put clothes on and I'm like, I feel gigantic. And like, obviously you're 3 weeks postpartum, but you just question everything about yourself. So I think overall it has been better this time around. And I think there's a lot of factors in that. Like, I just think I've done the experience before. I think a lot of things the second time around are just less stressful because you've been through the process before. Like, I have gotten back into a gym routine postpartum. I have seen my body go from pregnant to not pregnant to what it was before I got pregnant again with Emma. Like, that whole transition of getting stronger and lifting heavier and all of that, like, I've just done that process already. So this time around, last time it felt very daunting. Last time around, it felt very like, oh my God, am I ever going to be able to lift as heavy as I used to? Am I ever going to be able to be strong again and see progress in the gym again? Last time it felt very overwhelming and very daunting to like take on that task. This time around, I'm actually genuinely excited. I'm excited to get back into the gym for so many reasons. You guys know that like exercise and fitness is such a huge part of like taking care of myself, taking care of my mental and physical health. So yes, I'm excited about it for all of those reasons, but I'm actually really excited to like see what my body is capable of this time around. I'm really excited to see to know that I'm not going to put pressure on a timeline for myself, because just like I recovered last time, just like I was able to get stronger and see progress last time, I'll be able to do that this time around. Whether it takes 3 months, whether it takes 6 months, whether it takes 2 years, like I know that I'm going to be able to see that progress again. So I'm just excited. Like I'm in the process of putting together a postpartum program for myself, but hopefully if that goes well, it's something that I'll be able to like share with the world and have people be able to like buy and use. And like, I just think I feel very excited this time around because I know that that progress is possible, where last time you have, again, nothing to compare it to because it's the first time you're doing it. So I think this time around, I have more confidence, and it's, I think partly because of the time of year that I had her, and partly just because I've done it before, that I know even though I will not and will never look the way that I looked pre-pregnancies, I will feel confident in my body again, whether that takes 3 months, 6 months, 3 years, whatever that takes. I know that I'll feel confident in myself and my body again. And I also just think now more than ever, I am so proud of my body and what it is able to do for my family, and the fact that I've been able to grow 2 babies, birth 2 babies, and now I'm in the process of, I already fed 1 baby, I'm in the process of feeding another baby. Like, I just think the female body is genuinely so incredible, and I think now more than ever I have a lot of confidence from that, because I'm like, even though I don't look the way I looked pre-pregnancy, because I don't, and again, I never will, but I am so proud of what my body has gone through in this last year, and how I still you're still able to just like keep going and keep moving forward. Like, I just think women are incredible, that like you birth a baby and then like 3 days later you're walking out of the hospital. Like, I just think the female body is absolutely amazing. And I think I have a lot of confidence from that this time around, where last time it was all just scary and daunting and overwhelming. And you're like, will I ever look or feel the way that I did again? And like, yes and no, but now I know that like it will happen. It's just going to take time, and I just need to like remind myself, even on the hard days, to be patient. Last thing I kind of wanted to talk about today is things that I am just not stressing as much this time around about. I've kind of touched on a few of them already through the course of the video, but probably the biggest, which I'm literally doing right now, things that I'm not stressing about nearly as much this time around, is contact napping. I talked about this in my last vlog that I just put up, but with AJ was a big contact napper. Still to this day, if he could take all of his naps laying on top of you, he would. He just loves contact napping. He loves being close. He loves snuggling. Still to this day, even when we're watching TV, there'll always be like a little hand on my leg. Like, he just wants to be close by. When I had him and he was contact napping, I felt so guilty for contact napping. I felt like I was being so lazy, so unproductive. How could I be sitting here in my PJs until 11, 12 o'clock? I have done nothing all day except for feed him and hold him during naps. That's how I felt. I felt so unproductive when I was holding him for contact naps. I felt like there were so many other things that I should be doing. There was dishes in the sink. I could have been folding laundry. There were so many other things that I could be doing than holding him. And now, again, I think I've realized that the newborn phase, as sometimes challenging and overwhelming as it can be, it goes by so quickly. It goes by so fast, and then you look back and you are like, oh my goodness, my baby that I was contact napping 24/7 is now going to be 2 in 2 months. Like, that has happened so quickly. How has that baby that I felt so guilty contact napping with going to be 2? It just goes by so quickly. And so this time around, I just have told myself that I'm not going to feel guilty about it. I'm not going to feel guilty for sitting here and holding her, even though if I swaddled her and laid her down, she probably would sleep. That's not to say that I'm not trying to put her down. I think I did contributes to the problem a little bit with AJ about him being such a contact napper, because I never wanted to put him down, where with her, it's kind of been inevitable. I've kind of had to put her down a little bit more because I have AJ running around. I've had to put her in a bouncer. I've had to put her in the little swing seat. Like, I've had no choice but to be able to put her down more, because I have to be able to run around with AJ. I have had to wear her a lot more than I had to wear him. Like, it's kind of been inevitable, and I want her to be good at being able to be put down, so when I need to do it, she isn't screaming her head off and crying, because he did. So while I can admit that I probably did contribute to part of the reason why he loved contact napping so much, because I loved it so much and I wanted to sit there and hold him, he also wasn't good at going down in a bassinet. He wasn't good at going down in a bouncer or a swing, so I didn't put him down because he would scream and cry. So I'm trying to find a balance with her of putting her down when I can and need to put her down, but also enjoying the contact naps and not feeling guilty about it, because they're only this little for so long. She's already 3 weeks old. Like, I feel like I had her yesterday, and she is already 3 weeks old, and I go back to work in 2 months, which feels so far away, but simultaneously it feels like tomorrow. Like, I just cannot wrap my brain around going back to work, and it's coming quickly. Like, it's happening so fast. I'm already a month into my maternity leave. Like, it's just happening very quickly. So I'm trying this time around to not feel guilty about holding her when I want to hold her, when I have the time to hold her. Today, AJ's at my mom's house, and so I have the opportunity to hold her for naps and to snuggle her and to take advantage of this time, just me and her. So I'm trying to take advantage of that and not feel guilty about doing it, because I really, really did with him, and it made me feel bad, and it made me feel like he was never going to ever sleep by himself, that he was going to be contact napping on me until he was 10 years old, that he would never go down in a crib, that he would never go down in a bassinet. People genuinely make you feel when you contact nap that you are never going to have 30 seconds to yourself again in your life. And while I will admit, he still to this day at almost 2 definitely still prefers to be rocked to sleep, to be held if he can be held. I think he's still a baby. He wants to be close to us. Do I believe he's going to be doing this when he's 10 years old? No, absolutely not, because he does go down for naps in his crib. He does go down for his crib overnight, and I never would have guessed that in the very beginning, because I felt so guilty. I felt like I was doing nothing. I was being so lazy. I was being so unproductive. There's something else that I could be doing right now. And like, what you're doing, holding your baby, feeding your baby, is exactly what you need to be doing. So this time around, I'm trying really hard to not feel guilty about it, because I remember that time goes by so quickly, and before I know it, she's going to be 1, she's going to be 2 years old, and I'm going to be wishing for these moments back of when I can just hold her and snuggle her. And I also have really promised myself that this time around, I am not going to wish for her to be older. I think that it is so easy when you are going through hard moments as a parent that you are like, I just cannot wait until you can sit up on your own. I just cannot wait until you can walk. I can't wait till you can sleep through the night. Like, I think it is so easy to feel that way, and I would be lying if I said that there was not moments even this time around that you think to yourself, I can't wait till you can get a longer stretch of sleep. I can't wait until you can just sit up on your own, or you can play with AJ to make it a little bit easier on me. Like, I'd be lying if I said I haven't said that, but I'm really trying to be better about not wishing this time away, because it can be challenging and it can be difficult when they're crying and you're trying to get things done and you're holding them 24/7. It can be challenging. I can't wait until I can put you down for a nap and so I can just eat a meal in peace. Like, it's so easy to think that way, but I think this time around, I know how fast time has gone, and I don't want to wish this time away. I don't want to wish her to be bigger, because it's going to happen. It's going to happen. She's going to get bigger. She's going to get older, and I'm going to miss her being this little. So this time around, I'm just trying to like soak it up, and even though there will be difficult moments and difficult aspects of her being a newborn, I'm just trying to not wish it away and be like, I cannot wait until, because then eventually it's going to be that point, and all I'm gonna want is to be back in this phase. I do have to say that something I'm not stressing about this time around is if she cries a little bit. Last time with AJ, every single time he cried, I'd want to like scoop him up right away and rock him and hold him and get him to not cry anymore. And that's not to say that I just let her scream and cry, or that I'm doing the cry it out method, because me as a parent could never ever do it. There is nothing wrong if you do that with you and your children, and that is what works best for you and your children. If you sleep train them, if you let them cry it out, there is no judgment coming from me. I just personally cannot do that. So that is not to say that I am letting her just cry and I am not coming to her needs. However, I think when I was driving in the car with AJ and he would be crying, it literally is like piercing to your ear. If you have ever been in a car with a crying newborn, especially, it is the worst sound in the entire world. It almost should be like illegal to drive your car when you have a screaming baby like that in the back of your car, because your brain literally cannot think straight. It is so stressful, and I was so stressed so many times with AJ crying in the back that I would also literally be crying while I was driving. And it's not any easier to hear them cry this time around, to hear her cry this time around. But I just, again, remind myself that as a newborn especially, you have a couple basic needs. Have you been fed? Is your diaper changed? Are you tired? And if all of those things are okay, then they might just be crying. They might just be uncomfortable in their car seat. They might just want to be picked up, which is not a reason to not go and pick them up. But if you cannot, for whatever reason, if you're going to the bathroom, if you are driving a car, like, I just remind myself now that, like, sometimes babies just cry to cry. And if I am taking care of AJ for a second and she's crying a little bit, while I don't want her to cry for very long and I don't want her to scream, I also know that if she has been fed, her diaper is clean, and maybe she's just a little sleepy, or maybe I know that she's not tired, she just woke up from a nap, she probably just wants to be held. It's good. It's okay. It's okay to let her cry for a few minutes. It's not the end of the world if she cries. It's not like creating this like long trauma that I was stressed about. Like, I don't believe it to be anymore. Like, I was so stressed if AJ cried, like he'd have childhood trauma of him just crying and crying and crying and nobody coming to get him, even though that never literally happened with him especially. But with her, I'm like, if she cries for a minute, I'm like, okay, she's okay. I'm going to finish brushing my teeth quick and not panic because I need to brush my teeth, and I will just pick her up as soon as I am done. So this time around, although it is difficult still to hear them cry, you can remind yourself that as long as those couple things are being met, that she's probably okay. She probably just wants to snuggle and be held, or maybe to eat a little bit more, but she's not starving, and that as soon as you have a moment, just go pick her up and she will be okay. And the last thing that I am not stressing about this time around, there's probably so many things, but the last big thing that I'm not stressing about this time around, that you guys know I talk about it literally 24/7, is how much she weighs. That was such a difficult point of AJ's early, like, newborn infant stage for me, that I was stressing nonstop about how much he was eating, how frequently he was eating, how much was I producing, how much was I pumping, how much was he growing. I was stressed nonstop about his weight because the initial doctor we went to made us feel like because he was low on the charts, not on the charts, low on the charts, that he was never going to be able to thrive as a child, that he would be missing developmental milestones because he was so little. She made me particularly feel, as a breastfeeding mom, that I was not doing enough for my child. I was not eating enough. I was depriving my body. I was trying to lose the baby weight. She said so many things about that I was not taking in enough calories, which is why AJ was not growing. So many things were said, but it was all I stressed about in the beginning of being a parent was how much he was eating, how much I was pumping, breastfeeding. I was so stressed about how much weight he was. I would have so much anxiety every single appointment that we would go to, because I was like, hopefully he's gained a little bit of weight. Hopefully they tell me that he's not struggling. Hopefully they tell me that he's gone up on the charts. Like, I was so stressed at every single appointment we went to, and I would dread seeing that number on the scale, because I was like, what if they tell me my baby is failing to thrive again? What if they tell me that I need to stop breastfeeding? Which wouldn't have been the end of the world if that's what was best for him. But I genuinely, in my heart, believed that he was getting what he needed, that he was just a small baby and he was getting what he needed out of breastfeeding. And so I didn't want to stop. It was something that I felt very passionate about continuing to do, but also I felt like he was getting what he needed to be getting out of breastfeeding, and that he was just a small baby. And that's exactly what happened, because now he's almost 2 years old. He is doing perfectly fine on the charts. He is like very much a normal, quote unquote, sized almost 2-year-old. And so it was something that I hyper fixated on, because there was so much doubt put in my head about me as a parent early on. So this time around, I've refused to stress about it unless I go to a doctor's appointment. And first off, we switched doctors, which had made all the difference in the world, because now we are going to a practice that I genuinely believe has my best interest, my baby's best interest. I genuinely believe the practice we go to now cares about me as a parent, cares about what I want as a parent, but also is reasonable. They can understand the fact that I am not like I am a more petite person, Timmy is a more petite person, so obviously we are going to have smaller babies. So, and they have said that, like, obviously you guys are not huge people, you're not going to have huge babies. And they're just more reasonable about, okay, he's on the charts, he's gone up a little bit, he's staying on his curve. Like, they are just more realistic. So this time around with her, while luckily weight has not been even the slightest bit of an issue this time around, she's gaining weight appropriately, she's doing really well breastfeeding, like I said. I refuse to stress about it unless it was brought to my attention that I would need to stress about it. And this time around, I genuinely trust the doctor that it's coming from, because we've been with them for almost 2 years now. We've had really good experiences with them. I genuinely believe they have me and my best interest and my baby's best interest in mind, where I didn't feel that way the first time around. So I'm just refusing to not stress about it. And I am knowing that I know when my baby is hungry. I know when my baby is full. I know if she's not getting enough, if she's still hungry, if she's able to sleep for 4 or 5 hours at night, she's not starving, because she would be crying and crying and crying. I remember with AJ, he slept through the night one time, and the doctor told us that babies that were under 12 pounds do not sleep through the night. And so there's something wrong with him, because why would he be sleeping through the night? He's under 12 pounds. And I remember that so vividly. Like, we should not have let him sleep through the night. We're not doing a good job as parents. We should have woken him up and we should have fed him more. Like, I remember feeling all of those emotions this last time around with AJ, and I just won't do that to myself this time. We know if she's hungry, we know if she's full, if she's asking for food, I'm feeding her. It's not like I'm like, no, you just ate, I'm not feeding you. Like, especially as a breastfeeding mom, like, you feed pretty much on demand. Like, as exhausting as it is sometimes to feed her every 30 minutes, if that's what she wants, that's what I'm doing. So I'm just listening to her cues, knowing that I know myself, my baby, and I'm refusing to let that be the focus and the thing that I spiral down 24/7, because I was Googling things nonstop. I was Googling GI issues. I was Googling GI specialists because the doctor recommended us go to one. I was Googling average weights of a baby at 3 months, or whatever the case may be. Like, I was hyper fixating on all of the little things with AJ. Where this time around, I am like, she is a healthy baby. She's developmentally doing what she needs to be doing for the age that she's at, just like he was. And so I'm going to allow myself that, unless I need to be stressed about it, because the doctor I trust tells me to stress about it, to not allow myself to stress about it, and just to go in every appointment knowing that I have a healthy, thriving baby, unless something is brought up otherwise. And that has been such a nice peace of mind this time around, because when you have your baby, you go at like 2 days old, and then you go at a week old for a weight check to make sure that they've gotten back up to their birth weight. And when I went for her 1 week appointment, I remember I was not stressed about it at the time with AJ, because at that time we didn't feel the need to be concerned about it, because it wasn't until like the 1-2 month mark that the doctor made us feel bad about how much he weighed. With her, I told myself at the 1 week checkup that even if she only got up to her birth weight, she didn't exceed her birth weight, she didn't get any bigger, she just got back up to her birth weight, that I would be so happy, because that means she's growing, and that means she's getting better, and that means she's thriving at the age that she is at 1 week old at that point, and that I was not going to allow myself to hyperfixate on her being this huge, gigantic baby, because I just don't think I'm going to make a huge, gigantic baby. And so I need to stop putting pressure on myself to have a 90th percentile child. And so I did that, and then she had gained a pound in a week, which for me was a huge redemption feeling. Like, I really felt proud of myself. I felt so proud of her and our experience this time around. And I think so many things contribute to that. Obviously, she's a different baby. She breastfeeds better than AJ did, but also I have more experience with it. And also, I think I'm just not stressed about it this time around. I'm allowing myself to enjoy the process. And whether she had been 7 pounds, 10 ounces, like when she was born, or 8 pounds, 5 ounces, which is what she was, I was just fine with either. And I didn't care, and I didn't stress about it, and I wasn't Googling things ahead of time. And that has made a huge difference. So this time around, I'm refusing to allow myself to stress about numbers and weight and height and all of that, and comparing myself to other people that I see online, and how big their baby is, how tall their baby is, milestones that their baby is hitting, because it's so easy as a first-time parent to compare all of the things. Why can that baby hold their head up so well at 3 weeks old? Why can that baby roll over at 2 months? It's so easy to compare yourself to everybody. And I know, like, everybody, you're eventually going to do all of the things. And so even if it takes a little bit longer for one thing or another, you're eventually going to do everything. So I just think, again, that experience of knowing, like, at one point, my baby had a failure to thrive kind of like stamp posted on his chart, and now he's a perfectly healthy, happy, thriving, almost 2-year-old. So I just feel like I'm not allowing myself to stress about all the little things I stressed about last time, like the weight, unless it was brought to my attention that it needed to be stressed about. And I feel very fortunate for that, because it made the first kind of like 3-4 months of his infancy feel very stressful and overwhelming, and I had a lot of anxiety about it. And this time around I haven't felt that way, because I've just gained so much knowledge that I know myself, I know my baby, I have confidence in myself as a mom, and also she's doing exactly what she needs to be doing for the age that she is at. But with that being said, I'm going to wrap up this video here. I hope you guys like this video. I always love chatting and just rambling, and like I feel like I like brain dump. Like I feel like instead of journaling, like this is my kind of another version of like me journaling, is like getting all of my thoughts out and my feelings out. I just like talk to you guys about it, which is very fun for me. So if you like this video, please make sure you go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. You already know it supports my channel. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell notification so you never miss another video that I post. If you haven't, make sure you follow me on my Instagram and TikTok so you can see other fitness, health, and lifestyle content I post on there. And I will catch you guys here next time.